Hey there, horror movie tea sippers.
The following podcast episode will contain spoilers for the movie we are about to review. If you have not seen the movie and do not wish to have anything ruined prematurely, please do not continue to watch or listen until you have seen the movie.
And welcome to the Horror Movie Tea Podcast.
Today, we are covering Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. And you will also notice that we are maybe a little bit crispier than we used to be.
Hopefully notice.
Hopefully. We got a new camera, finally.
Also for those watching on YouTube instead of just listening to our podcast.
We learned that I had the chroma key filter on the webcam for a very long time because it's been making the greens look really weird for a very long time. And I always thought it was the webcam.
No.
Nope. It was
OBS.
It was OBS.
Being stupid.
I don't know
but it's
when
fine.
or how I did that.
It's fine.
Why?
This is fine. Everything's fine.
But yeah.
But also new camera, so.
Yeah, new camera. We've been needing a new camera for quite some time.
We've needed an upgrade. We were due.
Christmas. But I will start us off with, well, first, for those who are recently joining us, February is the same month that Jess's daughter was born.
Yes.
And so we'll do like Valentine's related when we get closer to that date, but it's mainly a kids horror
sort
movies.
of, yeah.
Yeah.
Kids or family horror.
Yeah. Yep. So, but I can't remember if I said this, but before we go into the review, let's grab our cups and talk about tea. So, we are going on theme of zombies. And I am drinking the Brutalities Night of the Living Red Apple, which has red rooibos, apple pieces, cinnamon bark, natural apple cinnamon, and caramel flavors.
And I am also drinking from Brutality stock, and it is the Walking Ginger Dead, which their titles always make me so happy.
I love their titles.
And this one's got black tea, rooibos tea, cinnamon bark, orange peels, ginger root, cloves, cardamom, natural gingerbread, and vanilla flavors.
And for our tea sippers out there, brew yourself a cup of tea, sit back, relax, and we hope you enjoy the review. And I forgot to write the summary, so I am going to wing it. I have seen this movie.
It's Scooby-Doo.
So Scooby-Doo and the gang decide that they are not going to be solving mysteries anymore, and they kind of separate ways.
They had burnout. Yeah. They took a break.
Yeah. And then they kind of come back together, and they are enticed to go to an island, a haunted island, and they go there and come to find out that the monsters are real. So yeah. So for entertainment, I 100% acknowledge that this is with nostalgia glasses, but I will paint a picture on why I feel so strongly about this. But I rate it an 8.5. I have watched this multiple times since I was a kid, and as a kid, I watched it on Cartoon Network, and Cartoon Network like really revved it up
was the
for
thing.
a long time. They're like, and this time the monsters are real.
Yeah.
And whenever I did watch it, when they finally aired it, I was pretty scared. Now, granted, it was before I was actually actively watching scary movies, so I just was a Scooby-Doo fan, and I watched it, and it scared me a lot. But it was just like, it's just enough to dip your toes into the scariness. So, yeah. And then also, for those who don't know, Scooby-Doo was kind of falling off the radar because it had been around for a very long time.
Since what, the 70s?
Yeah. And Hanna-Barbera was like, okay, this is our last shot to like try and, make Scooby-Doo relevant or popular or whatever. And it worked. And that's what branched all of the following movies, and then now all these different like TV shows. So really, this is the catapult that allowed Scooby-Doo to continue going. And, you know, it's a Hanna-Barbera show, so it's not amazing, and the characters can be flat, but I feel like this movie did the right attempt to kind of make them a little bit more distinguished, a little bit more fleshed out. Like, yeah, it doesn't go as deep as like some horror movies we've watched, but compared to what it previously had been, they were at least attempting to be like, okay, yeah, Daphne's a pretty one, but she's not just a pretty one. You know, here's the bullets of like who else she actually is.
Yeah.
And same with Velma and all of the characters.
Yeah.
And I think I also like, apparently it was a Japanese animation studio that took this over, but I like how dark they made it. Like they actually made it spooky. And it's like maybe in like the very beginning of the Scooby-Doo cartoon, it kind of was, but it was like there's always like a laugh track in the background.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like it never, like this movie is just on its own. Like it just feels extra dark. The saturation is dark. The colors are dark. And it's like, as the movies go on, you see that the colors get brighter again. And it's like, I kind of miss the dark tone that they went with. And it's like, this was like a huge risk. And actually, like the reason why the following movies aren't as good was because after it was successful, because they thought it was going to flop. So they actually gave the Japanese animation studio a lot of creative liberties that were risky. Because they're like, oh, it's probably going to flop anyways. Who cares? So they made choices that made it successful. But then with the following movies, they were like, no, we want to be in this. We want to make sure it's successful. And then they ended up ruining it, as studios do. But anyway, so suffice it to say, what I'm trying to get at is as far as entertainment goes, with the context of it, as well as the movie itself, I really enjoy it. I think they did a really good job. I really wish more of Scooby-Doo's content would go back to this dark tone, because I feel like it really does work when it's done well. And in addition to that, and it goes... The live-action Scooby-Doo movie copied this, but I feel like the Zombie Island version did the like splitting up the gang and them reuniting like way better. And it's like, yeah, the characters that were made specifically for the movie, they kind of expanded on a little bit more than like the regular episode, and they still felt like they fit in the Scooby-Doo universe, even though they were technically real monsters.
Yeah.
But
it felt plausible in the plot.
Yeah. So it's like, I don't want to beat it too hard, but I like this movie a lot. I really enjoy it. And even rewatching it nowadays, especially the part where Scooby and Shaggy are in like the pit.
Yes.
And the zombie, like, that scared the shit out of me as a kid. And I'm still like, oh, like, you know how much that would suck? Like, the fact, like, they do, like, a decent job with the tension, because they have to get out of the pit. And then the twist at the end, you know, I mean, the twist has been spoiled multiple times for me now. But it is, like, at the time, that was a pretty good twist.
That was a good reveal.
So I just like a lot of the choices that they made. And I like that they flesh out the characters. And I will say the only thing that I didn't enjoy was the Scoobies. And I don't remember him being so adverse to cats in the series, but
I don't remember him being adverse to him in the series either.
But him, like, not liking cats, that was a little bit annoying.
Yeah.
Because it was a repeated thing.
Yeah.
And it was, like, a big thing. And I feel like they really used it as a plot device to force Scooby and Shaggy out of the house. So that way they would, like, interact with the zombies.
I agree. Could have just as easily been, like, the main owner of the house being like, I hate dogs, you need to eat outside.
Right. Yeah. So I didn't, for me, I feel like that took away from the movie.
It was unnecessary.
But I did feel like the lore around the zombies was really interesting. Not just like the backstory of like how they became zombies, but also like even though what they did was wrong, they also become like sympathetic characters, especially like the newer zombies that actually didn't do anything and they're just being lured to be sacrificed or whatever.
And that they're trying to scare off others so they don't share the same fate.
Yeah. So I like how it's like, they took a darker tone and they made it scary, but they also kind of like brightened it up by having that like sympathy around the zombies. But yeah.
I agree. I don't have quite as much nostalgia glasses as Alyssa does. I give this one a 7.75. It is definitely one of the stronger of the Scooby-Doo movies. Especially of the older ones. The newer ones... Don't get me started on some of the newer ones. Oh my god, they're awful. They're so bad. But
apparently the Return to Zombie Island one isn't too terrible.
It's not
and they actually
great.
have a lot of jokes and callbacks and stuff.
Yeah, it's not great though. It's not the same. But regardless, we're doing just this one for now. And I mean, they have the same lovable characters. Daphne, of course, still gets got. I feel like Velma really was kind of pushed to a little bit more of a background character, but she often is, which kind of makes me sad. She was always one of my favorites growing up, apart from Scooby and Shaggy.
Yeah, it's like one of the things where I feel like they had too many characters.
Almost, yeah.
Because, like, I feel like Velma adds a lot of, not just good comedy, but good exposition.
She does. She explains things and puts pieces together.
Yeah.
So.
She kind of puts things together for the audience.
Yeah. And rounds it out. She, like, sums it up and rounds it out at the end.
And I don't know, how do you feel about Velma, I guess as Daphne too, being, like, suspicious of the gardener? Like, did you feel like it was...
I feel like it was fairly justified. He was acting really sus.
Yeah, he was. And
he was just being weird all around.
Yeah.
And unapproachable. So, you know, I get
grumpy.
It. He was very grumpy.
He was very grumpy.
Now, to be fair, Scooby also wrecked a lot of his work. So, you know, guy's essentially trying to work two jobs. He's trying to investigate while also gardening.
Yeah.
So, as a cover. So I get it. But at the same time, he was a little sus.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yep.
So, I don't know. Most of the characters were fairly memorable. Of course, it's a Scooby-Doo movie, so they had some red herring characters like the gardener, like the fisher guy that's trying to catch Big Mona, the catfish with the crazy boar as a pet.
Yeah, that was funny. I like how the fish is like such a troll.
It is. And I love how the cats were trolling Scooby too. Yeah. I do feel like that was a bit forced. Him going after the cats all the time.
Yeah.
Like, that was unnecessary, and they could have just as easily have done something else to reach the same things.
Yeah, and I feel like the whole, like, dogs versus cats trope is just so overdone. And by the time this movie came out, which was in the late 90s, I believe.
Somewhere around there, I think, late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah, it had definitely been way overdone at that point.
Oh, yeah. For sure. I mean, honestly, it felt more plausible if he had been chasing after a squirrel. But...
Or a bunny.
Yeah, a bunny. Bunny would work too. But it just felt a little forced and weird and awkward. The quote-unquote clues made sense for the most part. I do like how they tried to debunk everything, as they always do. And don't just accept it right off the bat. Like when Daphne like starts floating and all she's like, get me down.
Yeah. Yeah, I like how they were trying to debunk it. And then also like the zombie ghost guy like pointing to in the kitchen and then they like scrape. I thought it also was how they slowly reveal the lore.
Yes.
Was also interesting.
That was pretty well done. And of course they had more time to work with it instead of, you know, the 20 to 30 minutes that they normally did per episode. And so they didn't feel quite as rushed to do so, and it felt a lot more fleshed out because of that. No pun intended. But it was fairly well done. That being said, cartoon physics are, of course, a thing because it's a Scooby-Doo cartoon movie. A lot of it is spoon-fed to you. Of course, there's cat monsters are real, and so are zombies. But sure, voodoo dolls are a thing, and they can make people levitate if you pick them up. Yeah. Things like that. It's just kind of a little odd, but it's a fun kids movie to dip your toes into horror.
Yeah. Yep, for sure. Yeah, like I feel like this is a slightly older kid. Like
Slightly?
Preteen.
I'd say like, 8.
Yeah, like
8 or so.
8 to 12 or somewhere in that line. It's like kind of dip your toes in, like, here's something a little bit scarier. Let's see how you do.
Yeah. This is the intro into Scary to see how you might potentially handle some other movies.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, no. Realism. Oh, it's a cartoon.
It's a Scooby-Doo cartoon.
They're not trying to be realistic.
Nothing
They
is
make
realistic.
The zombies real.
There's nothing realistic about it.
Yeah. Like it's got slapstick moments. Like none of it's really supposed to be real. But
they're
I do
legitimately
feel
trying to go to different places to find actual ghosts and try to get them on camera.
I do feel like out of like Scooby-Doo media, whatever, it definitely tries to be kind of realistic, at least with the characters.
Sort of, until, Daphne levitates and they see a ghost actually on camera. And then, of course, they would lose the camera.
Of course.
In the bog.
Yeah.
The swamp area. Of course.
Of course. Oh.
There is no realism. I can't. It's a Scooby-Doo cartoon movie. There is no realism. 1. That'll work.
Like, sure. I feel like the character, like...
The character reactions are fairly believable.
Yeah.
That, I would accept that, yes. But it's a Scooby-Doo cartoon. Like, there is no realism.
Which is fine.
You suspend reality because you're watching cartoons, and cartoons have their own physics.
Yep. They're like, we need to find the physics.
This is fine. At one point, Scooby-Doo bangs his head in a tree trying to get a frog off his head, and then he blows on his thumb, and his nose becomes an accordion.
So realistic.
Cartoon.
You haven't done that before? I do it all the time.
Oh, sure. Right after lunch. On Tuesdays.
You have it scheduled in?
I got a busy schedule. Got to pencil it in somewhere.
Oh my god. So, I will say, if you've never watched this movie, this just may not be your cup of tea, so to speak.
We grew up with Scooby-Doo, so,
But we grew up with Scooby-Doo, we got the nostalgia. But for a kid's scary horror or whatever movie, I feel like it does a pretty decent job of dipping into darker tones without taking it to too much of an extreme.
Yeah, I mean, they're talking legit, people died.
Yeah.
It's honestly kind of a step up from their normal episodes.
Oh, yeah. You literally see, crocodiles go in the bog to...
Alligators, but yes.
Well, alligators. To go into the bog to eat people. Now, you don't see them actually eat them, but you see them go, and then you hear screaming.
Well, they also, when Scooby and Shaggy fell into the bayou, like, they went into the water like, ooh, snag, because they are opportunists.
Yeah.
So that part was accurate, but I feel like the actual quote-unquote attack on Scooby and Shaggy was not how alligators do. If you see them on the top of the water, they're probably not gonna get you. They are opportunists. So they could just decide, you're right there, sure, why not? But chances are they're gonna come at you from the bottom.
Yeah.
And go, zoop.
Yeah.
And spinny, spinny, spinny.
Spinny, spinny, drown, rip.
Spinny, spinny, spinny.
All the fun. Yeah. But. Well, thank you for joining us today, and welcome to the first episode of February. So, and let us know what you thought of the movie, and if you'd like to recommend a movie, game, or tea, you can leave us a comment or join our Discord. And if you'd like to keep up to date with our content, you can find our link tree listed below.
And if you'd like to support us monetarily, we have a Teespring or a PayPal donate button available, and you can find all of those sites mentioned linked below. But until the next time, guys, stay safe and stay spoopy.
Bye.